Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be none other than NegativeZero taking on BenBotBC. The BC standing for Bring Cash, I don't know. And battle cruisers. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy watching bots battle each other, make sure to go ahead and click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, we're putting up daily bot videos here on the channel. If you do want to support these daily casts, consider becoming a YouTube member, as that goes a long way. And yeah, I think that's the whole spiel anyway. Now, we do have NegativeZero going for a probe scout. BenBot also worker scouting, but then sending out an additional worker to go for a proxy racks. This is something that BenBot goes for, I think, virtually every single game that it plays. And yeah, that is something that it's just built, it's seemingly built upon to an extreme degree. It tends to have success, as not a lot of bots shut it down completely dominantly, it seems. We do get something very interesting here. NegativeZero had a probe out. It scouted the proxy, or no, it didn't actually scout the proxy racks, but then it just built a single proxy pylon out on the map, interestingly enough, which is actually going to delay these Marines from coming on in here a little bit, but that's something that I don't think I've ever seen from NegativeZero before. Just a random pylon built out on the map. Going to delay the Marines a bit. However, the bunker is still getting up on this side of the map. And then we do have BenBot beginning to construct its great wall, as it's got a factory on the way behind this. So this is something that we've seen play out a fair few times. BenBot going for this proxy. NegativeZero just doesn't have to worry about having its Nexus be shut down, as it doesn't go for it. Or it actually did go for a Nexus and canceled it. But by canceling the Nexus, it doesn't have to worry about losing that. And then we do have Stalkers being produced from the Protoss bot, a third gateway on the way, Warp Gate being researched. So a standard sort of one base opening from NegativeZero. There's a probe trying to keep tabs on this, avoiding that Marine. Another probe on its way home from scouting isn't going to be able to get home. And then there is, yeah, just BenBot going for a CC behind this. The biggest question as far as this rush goes is whether it can be shut down prior to a tank getting across the map. And yeah, we'll see, because NegativeZero has already got 4 Stalkers out, so it could potentially engage that bunker. I'm honestly not sure what the magic number is on this, because of course it depends, like whether the SCV gets picked off or what. How willing to commit in is the blue Protoss bot. We are also on the interesting map Torches with these mineral walls. Now, we're lucky, as most bots seemingly have been updated in order to sort of handle these different paths and these mineral walls, so that there's no crazy bugs or anything like that, it seems, these days. There is indeed, well, how many Stalkers is that for NegativeZero? 7 Stalkers, soon to be 10. Now, the tank is just rolling up from BenBot. NegativeZero moving out to try and clean up this bunker. A bit of an anti-timing, as the Stalkers wander forward, eat a tank shot, and then have to back off. So the contain continues on. BenBot sees all those Stalkers and deduces it's up against a 4-gate. In reality, it's 3 gates, but not that that makes too much of a difference. It's a one-basing opposing Protoss. Now, NegativeZero is going to dive on in here. The tank is still alive. The bunker's actually going to be the first thing to get volleyed down. One SCV, not enough to out-repair that. Stalkers do walk on top of the tank, so the tank is gone. And BenBot's contain has indeed been shut down. Now, NegativeZero is going to try and get whatever it can as those Stalkers pick off the retreating Marine. On the other side of the map, there is 2 Widow Mines. There is a new bunker on the way for BenBot. Now, there is only 1 Marine out, but a siege tank on the way as well. So, NegativeZero actually just going to attack this debris here and open up that attack path. So, and BenBot has mined out this wall, so there's potential for NegativeZero to potentially attack in through this location later on. For now, we do have a fusion core on the way from BenBot, so it is indeed getting up to those BCs. NegativeZero, meanwhile, has got its Nexus up, but it is definitely behind on the economy, as we do see BenBot at 41 workers compared to the 26 of its opponent. So NegativeZero would like to get some damage done at some point, I imagine, or just to out-expand BenBot as the game goes on. Hallucinated Phoenix flying around. Nice to see that being utilized, getting all the scouting information. And then NegativeZero can just decide what it's going to do based off seeing that. Sees the fusion core, sees the 3rd command center. There is the Nexus just finishing up for NegativeZero, so it was quite behind economically compared to its opponent. Now, the blue Protoss may try and get some damage done here as it moves on in. It's got lots of Stalkers. They will find a supply depot, which is nice. That may supply block BenBot a little bit, not quite, and it does actually have another depot going up, so I guess that's the beauty of having a ton of extra supply depots. You don't actually get supply blocked that much. Now, NegativeZero is out of range of these tanks. 1 Stalker is getting shot at by this Marauder from the high ground. The Marauder then exposes itself, so it may actually go down. BenBot rallying its units towards the safety of those tanks. NegativeZero isn't shooting this tech lab either. In a different world, NegativeZero could go up into the main base of BenBot. However, it's still prioritizing avoiding that siege tank, which is very reasonable, and that just kind of highlights the difficulties of programming a bot, is that you want generally good behavior, and right now priority number 1 for NegativeZero is staying out of range of those tanks. And yeah, so it is still getting some nice pickoffs here as SCVs come on down. Units rallying past are getting taken out. NegativeZero behind this has an Immortal on the way, Twilight, and a Forge building. A tank does pop out for BenBot, though, which is going to zone NegativeZero further back. So NegativeZero may not get as much damage done. We do have the first battle cruiser out as well, and that does teleport to the base of NegativeZero. NegativeZero may need to recall to handle this. Will we see that, or the Stalker's just going to hoof it back home? The battle cruiser is getting some damage done. There's 2 Stalkers walking back to defend, but that's not enough to take on a BC. Might be enough to distract one, though, and save some probes' lives. But yeah, no recall from NegativeZero in order to shut that down. We do have a scouting heli and of BenBot getting destroyed. And so NegativeZero defends against that, but then seemingly wants to get aggressive once more. Now there's a stuck Stalker. Is that a stuck Stalker? Can that guy actually not get out of there? The probe fits through, but I guess the Stalker cannot. Until there's blink, he shall be stuck there. NegativeZero does send out an observer to keep eyes on this battle cruiser. Meanwhile, the blue Protoss is still trying to get aggressive, but it just cannot take that engagement as this tank is behind a nice SimCity. There's another bunker on the way. And so NegativeZero throws up a 3rd base, which is probably the best thing. Now, behind this, BenBot does have its 3rd base done and landed. So the Red Terran does still have a nice economic lead here. BenBot is moving out a little bit with its bio, actually feeling that it can take this engagement. NegativeZero, though, is actually retreating as the BC went in once again. It's going to Yamato Cannon down that Stalker, kill off some more probes. It's actually got a whopping 21 kills. NegativeZero has lost a ton of probes here, which is not good. This Stalker is being a hero, soaking some damage. The rest of them coming on in. The battle cruiser just teleports out for BenBot. But yeah, that is a lot of economic damage that was done. And it just goes to show the difficulty of handling defense while you're trying to be aggressive when it comes to programming a bot, because that's a decision that requires quite a bit of thought, and it's not something that's easy to program. I imagine. Looks like we do have another battle cruiser coming on in. NegativeZero does have all its stalkers waiting. They've got +1 attack. Blink will be done in about a minute or so. So these stalkers, they should be able to shut this one down much more effectively than that first battle cruiser. Yamato cannon will be dropped, picks off a stalker. Meanwhile, the blue Protoss is trying to get its worker count back up to a healthy level. 41 versus 83 workers, though, is a huge deficit. NegativeZero is going to need a lot of efficiency in order to come back in this game. It does have the Prism out, and it's just taunting this stalker, like, I could free you, but I don't. And then NegativeZero is coming in looking to get aggressive. It has indeed found another Planetary of its opponent, so NegativeZero will actually walk on in. It's not targeting down the siege tank. Seems like it was prioritizing the SCVs there, and it does have to back on out as the bio of BenBot comes on in to save the day. NegativeZero getting some decent trades as Blink is done, taking care of that bio for basically nothing. However, there's now another battle cruiser causing problems. There is a Prism. It's picking up and unloading those probes. The stalker's still stuck there, but the defense does indeed happen. NegativeZero has an Oracle out now as well. It's producing a Phoenix. We may see a fleet beacon at some point from NegativeZero. However, it is still struggling in the financial department, having to produce off of 3 bases, only 52 workers. There is another battle cruiser teleporting on in. That Phoenix gets deleted very effectively by BenBot. NegativeZero now going to be losing more probes to these battle cruisers. Maybe a cannon or a battery or something would help out here with this defense. NegativeZero skirmishing at the front while trying to defend these BCs in its main base. The stalkers just retreating, getting really good efficiency against the bio of BenBot. That's where NegativeZero thrives. Now it is trying to handle this battle cruiser on the front line as well. 3 BCs are in the base of NegativeZero, and that is not great. There is more oracles another oracle being produced. We hear another BC teleport on in, though. So BenBot has just been able to pump out so many battle cruisers off its economy. Soon enough, +2 attack will be done for NegativeZero. That is going to help out against the BCs, but they've already got 1-2 upgrades on themselves. Stalkers, I think, kind of just need to hang out here in order to defend against this. But NegativeZero is trying to be as aggressive as ever, and yeah, it's just getting punished a little bit on the defense because of this. BenBot feeds in yet another battle cruiser into the main base of NegativeZero. Now, this is a lot of supply that's kind of just sitting here, but BenBot is just about maxed out. We've got Guardian Shield stalkers fighting the battle cruisers, sending some of them home for that repair, and then they are just getting repaired up and sent back out. NegativeZero finally has a Tempest on the way now, which is very important to see. The blue Protoss does also have a 4th base on the way, which is quite important. NegativeZero's army on the front lines has, I think, maybe skirmished as much as it possibly can, as it has kind of been whittled down over time here. And now NegativeZero is still just trying to deal with BenBot's army. It looks like BenBot is getting ready for an attack, as it does say attack with tanks in the chat there. So it's looking to go for a bit of a kill move, it would seem. Now, this Tempest is out for NegativeZero. It's beginning to shoot away on these BCs. It does have +1 attack, and the battle cruisers kind of have no choice but to sit in the corner unless we see BenBot blink on top of that. There is a Colossus out for NegativeZero, which is quite nice. Stalkers are fighting this Marauder. However, they are unfortunately eating a lot of tank shots. I mean, battle cruisers and tanks is a lot of work. BenBot says jump Tempest, and it does indeed jump on top of that Tempest. Double Yamato cannon going to go down and pick that off. So NegativeZero loses its only Tempest. Stalkers have to come back to deal with these battle cruisers. It would be good to see another one of those. Another BC teleports on in here, has to retreat to the corner right away pretty much, as there is stalkers there to defend. Now, BenBot does give up the attack for now, it seems, although it's kind of remustering. Just there's the constant click of battlecruisers teleporting in and out of NegativeZero's base. BenBot has kind of been able to bite in and is not letting go. There is another Tempest on the way, which is quite important for NegativeZero. The blue Protoss bot is down on supply compared to its opponents still. Upgrades are still rolling for both sides. Stalkers are there fighting the BCs, but the BCs do such a good job buffering for the tanks. Picking off those tanks is really essential for NegativeZero. It does get one of them. The Stalkers may be able to pick off the next one, just walking right on top of that tank. Another battlecruiser does teleport on in there. That Tempest is about to finish up here, and so that's actually good timing as two more BCs just rolled on up. So NegativeZero now trying to push these battle cruisers in the middle of the map. Unfortunately, I mean, there's just not enough Stalkers to pick them up. A second Stargate is on the way. We are seeing more batteries be built for NegativeZero. I definitely do like that. If it can get up to critical mass of Tempest, that can be how it starts to get some good efficiency. Phoenix are being produced. Unfortunately, they're pretty much useless against battle cruisers, so I think it would be better just to be building those Tempest instead of Phoenix. I'm wondering if it's a cost thing, because NegativeZero's economy hasn't been great this game, that it's just building whatever it can afford. In reality, it should be saving that money for those Tempest, as Stalkers are skirmishing with the BCs still. Fortunately for NegativeZero, BenBot does pull them back at a relatively high threshold, which means that once they take a few shots, they're kind of just out of it until their teleport comes off cooldown. Now, BenBot is looking to get aggressive once more. It's got +3 armor on these mech units. +2 attack is done. There is 2 Tempests being produced at a time for NegativeZero. This is so important. They cannot finish up soon enough. Meanwhile, the blue Protoss bot is trying to take a 5th base that is the gold. BenBot finds it with some bio, with some battle cruisers as well, though. There is Stalkers still skirmishing. BenBot, meanwhile, has 8, soon to be 9 BCs in the corner of the base of NegativeZero. So this blink into the main strategy really is quite comical. They're all just waiting for a teleport so they can retreat out of NegativeZero's base, go and get repaired up, because that's how BenBot works, trying to get that efficiency. There's one Tempest shooting away. A second Tempest is here as well, so BenBot commits on in. NegativeZero is kind of absorbing this army, though. Stalker's being juggled with the Prism because it's microing so fast. The blink is on cooldown. Tank goes down. NegativeZero is holding on these 4 bases. If it can get up to, say, like 4, 5, 6 Tempest, that would be enough to really start picking off these battle cruisers as it tries to keep these units in the corner. Yamato Cannon does get queued up on that Tempest, so that's nice for BenBot, and not good at all for NegativeZero, as it needs to keep these Tempest alive. Another Phoenix flying forward to its certain death is not ideal. And we do have another Tempest being produced. There's 2 grouped up now. And this BC may actually die. Has a battlecruiser died this game? So far, 2 have died. That's soon going to be 3, as that one goes down right before it teleports out of there. BenBot does have a phenomenal economy behind this, though. It's taken every base on its side of the map, and it's got the 2 gold bases as well. Now, that being said, NegativeZero has built up to 147 supply. We haven't seen it with this many units yet. The 3rd Tempest is out now, which is going to be very important. Stalkers and Tempest going to try and defend against this big battlecruiser attack. We do have BenBot saying attack with tanks cancel, jump Tempest. So we're seeing Yamato cannons go down. Looks like BenBot actually prioritizes Yamato on the cannons, though. However, there is plenty of BCs, though, so BenBot does actually still pick off one of those Tempests. However, 2 of them staying alive is very important for NegativeZero. Battle cruisers having to teleport on out. Most of those spells have been used, so they are getting pushed away. Stalkers doing their thing, still skirmishing. NegativeZero, I think, does need to pick off a base of BenBot soon, though. I think this gold base would be quite important to kill. Still, though, the blue Protoss does have other bases it can expand to, taking this 5th base location. It is producing another Colossus. Again, I think Tempest are the most important thing for NegativeZero to be building here. It does elect to build another Phoenix. Now, this Immortal is going to deal a lot of damage. Most of the SCVs at this planetary are dead. Battle cruisers are coming in to try and save the day. Yamato cannon going down. The prism actually gets hit. That is a huge pickoff from BenBot. Tempest are doing their thing. But again, we're seeing an Oracle be built. We're seeing a Phoenix get built. It really just needs that mass Tempest count. Yamato cannon hits another one of those Tempests. We do get a third one being built, but not before another one of these Tempest dies, and that is going to be the last Tempest of NegativeZero going down. BenBot jumping back into the main base of NegativeZero. The blue Protoss bot does have a decent economy. It's got, oh, that is 5 going up to 6 bases and still mining, so like it's got a lot of workers, which is very important, but it needs to build more Tempests. That's basically all I'm saying. And then to try and grow up in that supply, we are seeing Immortals be produced here from NegativeZero. Immortals aren't always a bad thing. However, it is contending with 12 BCs. So that is not great, I don't think. There is this one Stalker skirmishing with this battle cruiser. BC does get pushed on out. Another Tempest is done. We're still seeing upgrades roll from NegativeZero. Another Stargate is on the way. Lots of probes being produced from the blue Protoss bot, keeping its economy going. BCs move forward, get Yamato cannon. I heard that tag jump Tempest, so this Tempest going to have a bad time. It's 2 BCs land on top of it, double Yamato cannon to kill the Tempest. That is a great success there from BenBot. And NegativeZero is getting bullied a little bit here by BenBot. The Stalkers are doing a good job fighting with this battery, absorbing the BCs as they come on in. Resources lost, though. It is 33,000 against 13,000. This is some really good efficiency from BenBot. And that's from these BCs getting the Yamato cannons off, getting kills, getting out. Of course, it's a little bit skewed because repair doesn't count until a unit dies, but it's still a definite significant lead for BenBot. NegativeZero sees a Widowmine, should be able to kill that off, as these two bots have just been skirmishing for 20 minutes now. NegativeZero is producing 2 Tempest at a time. That's very important. I think the most it's had in this game is 2, but there we go. It's got 1 out. It's producing 2 more, so it may hit that coveted higher number of Tempest that it fires up a Phoenix. Oh man, NegativeZero, you're causing me a bit of pain here, as we do have this Tempest working away on some of these BCs. Stalkers providing vision. Yamato cannon does hit the Tempest though, and so that will die to the next Yamato cannon after eating that shot. The Stalkers providing vision for the Tempest is quite important as this goes on though, as they're just constantly skirmishing with these BCs. NegativeZero is up to 150 supplies. Stalkers are working away, trying to kill off these SCVs, so this planetary may die. There is 3 Tempest out with a 4th one on the way, so NegativeZero getting close to that number where it can really start punishing these battle cruisers. BenBot just out on the map with its BCs, but the Tempest constantly skirmishing here, getting shots off on them. The Observer providing vision, the Stalkers providing vision. Yamato cannon does go down on a Tempest, however, it's still alive, as it takes 2 shots to kill a Tempest. There's some BCs jumping on top of one and killing it off. These Tempest are going to try and get some vengeance. Still 3 Tempest out for NegativeZero, with a 4th on the way. They do have +3 attack as well. We see BenBot saying tag jump Fortress, trying to save this base. It's done a good job keeping this alive. Yamato cannon hits that Tempest as well. There is 2 more Tempest on the way from NegativeZero. It's limited by its gas presently, although it's mining quite a healthy amount. Phoenix going to fight a very injured battle cruiser. It still doesn't have the juice to make that happen, but 2 Tempest may get in there and be able to pick that off. So that is a nice kill for NegativeZero. Meanwhile, there's still a skirmish going on the front lines, as the blue Protoss has got its 4th Tempest, 5th Tempest on the way out. Yamato cannon's going down. As long as it's on Stalkers, though, and not the Tempest, that is promising for NegativeZero. BenBot behind this has really just taken all the bases it possibly needs. We hear tag jump Tempest, 3 BCs on 2 Tempest. Those Tempest, well, one of them's going to die right away. The other barely survives. So that's not good for NegativeZero. It does still have 4 of them out. Where are the rest of those Tempest? Looks like they're actually getting aggressive here. Now, they don't have Tectonic Destabilizers, so they aren't going to kill off buildings or that sort of thing that quickly. This Tempest will go down as BenBot goes for another big tactical jump. Lowering that Tempest count is so critical. We do have 3 coming on in here. They're kind of attacking the BCs from the other direction, but this is the efficiency we need from NegativeZero to pick off these BCs that have used their tactical jump. Unfortunately, that Tempest does perish there. There is more Tempest on the way, though, as NegativeZero has just been barely hanging on this whole game, unable to break the Planetary, but still staying alive. It's got quite a bit of road left to run, though, as it is establishing yet another base. And if it can, say, get up to that critical mass, this game can potentially turn around for it. We are seeing the Protoss bot incredibly bottlenecked by its gas here, though. 1,000 minerals in the bank, no gas. 3 Tempests coming forward. No, it's actually the Prism that gets Yamato Cannon. NegativeZero should be okay with that. We hear a tag jump Tempest as BCs do jump on top of those Tempest, and the rest of the units kind of ran forward there. Yamato Cannon will hit another one, though, so NegativeZero gets knocked down to 1 Tempest, which is not good. It does kill off a BC, but BenBot can afford those losses with a whopping 30,000 resources in the bank. This Blue Flame Hellion is getting some nice harassment done as well. NegativeZero producing 7 probes at a time, having to replace the ones that it lost. It has lost 15 Phoenix this game. And so BenBot, oh, it's going to get yet another Tempest. It jumps on top of it for good measure. Stalkers may be able to punish and kill off this battle cruiser, but yeah, BenBot has done a good enough job keeping the pressure on, forcing the trades non-stop, that NegativeZero hasn't been able to sustain well enough in order to build up a big army. This Hellion worth its weight in gold. How many kills does it have? 13 kills, as NegativeZero really needs to get a unit over there to just handle that, as that Hellion is causing a big disruption, interrupting some of that critical gas mining as well. The blue Protoss is poking at this base still, but unable to break it. Lots of Stalkers on the ground. Skirmishing still, it's 150 supply compared to the 200 that BenBot's been at for like the past, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. This Hellion's still working away on probes, up to 18 kills now. NegativeZero is moving forward. Looks like it may actually get this Planetary. We do see battle cruisers blinking on top of here to try and save the day, but they are unable to. Yamato Cannons do pick off one of the Tempests, though, so a bit of a costly engagement for NegativeZero, but still getting that base is the first real damage NegativeZero's got done in a long time. Now this Hellion still causing problems for NegativeZero, interrupting mining, forcing money to be spent rebuilding probes, and that is money NegativeZero does not have. We're getting another Phoenix on the way now. There is 2 Tempests flying around. Battle cruisers do jump on top of them, though. It seems that the Tempests almost kind of pause and wait while the BC teleports on in, whereas really they just need to be hightailing it out of there. I do wonder if the API shows bots where something is teleporting on in or not, or whether the unit doesn't become real to the bot until the teleport in has been completed. That would be interesting to know. Now we do have more Tempest on the way from NegativeZero, 2 at a time. Very important. The Reign of Terror from this Hellion, up to 34 kills, is really crippling NegativeZero here. We may see a Tempest or something get over there to help deal with that, hopefully, at some point. For now, though, BenBot, it is jumping on top of this Tempest once again, and that's what I see. We sort of see the Tempest just pause while that's going on. And it seems like they do path towards the BCs, so that's not really ideal, as they kind of just wait for it to become real, when in reality they need to be running away. BenBot does get on top of this Nexus, and it is able to really shut this down, it seems, and that is a big blow, as NegativeZero is mined out at all bases. Well, its first 4 bases, and then so it really just needs to keep these other bases alive. We've got a Tempest getting jumped on once again. NegativeZero loses its last Tempest, and we look, and all of a sudden it's down to 60 supply. So I think BenBot has been able to take this one, as it's able to get an upset, a definite upset, as NegativeZero does win the vast majority of the games between these two, but BenBot just threw a solid macro game, was able to take it. There wasn't anything glaringly wrong that went wrong for NegativeZero, which is part of the reason why I do enjoy clicking on these replays, in which NegativeZero does end up losing, as it's interesting to see what exactly went wrong for this great bot. And in this case, I honestly think it was the Phoenix. Like, there's nothing that really should trigger building the Phoenix. The Immortals are justifiable because they kill the tanks, they can kill the Planetaries, they skirmish with the bio. But like the Phoenix, they're useless. I think. I get if there was like Vikings, I'd understand it, but I guess it's just maybe NegativeZero tries to build them when it doesn't have money for a Tempest, something like that. As I mean, even just building more Stalkers would have been better than those. So yeah, maybe that's what went wrong. NegativeZero was close. It got up to like the 4 Tempest mark at some point, and that's where things really start to turn around, and it annihilates BenBot a lot of the time, but it just didn't quite make it there in this game. So well done to BenBot. I know the bot author puts in a lot of work updating the bot. Its economy got going very quickly this game and was well maintained. I mean, the BC jump, I don't think we've ever seen like 9 BCs sitting in a corner before, but BenBot was able to make that happen in this game. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched up until this point in the video and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Click that like button, give it a slap. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And yeah, what a great game between these two. Again, I know I kind of have to add the disclaimer. NegativeZero is pretty much, it is the best bot out there. And I do cast more of its losses than its wins, it seems, because those are the more interesting games, and it was so close to coming back in this game, I think. I guess it just lost too many probes to that first harassment, then it was kind of just playing catch-up ever since, and then it was never able to make that happen. BenBot jumping into the enemy base. There's nothing there, my guy. But, yeah, well done to BenBot. It is a phenomenal late-game bot, and it did a very good job here, just keeping the pressure on constantly, which isn't something you see happen versus NegativeZero too often, in which it's just trying to build up enough of an army but is unable to. BenBot does indeed take this one. GG.